Our guest artist Inna Nagaysteva gave up her car repair tools for watercolor brushes. Yes, she used to be an auto mechanic. Her entire persona screams artist from her floral tattoos, purple gray hair, and a watercolor technique that truly defines the norms of watercolor painting. Her love for waves and whales are evident in every piece of artwork she puts on display. In this episode, Ina shares about learning from the best art teachers and making it your own. Why buying cheap materials is slowing down your progress. How taking a big career leap can be the best decision you'll ever make. And the one layered watercolor painting technique. If you want to be part of the conversation, then send in your questions and topics you want us to cover to hello@etcherlab.com. Hey, this is Jessie from Etcher. We believe in your power to create, so we invited artists from all around the globe to inspire you to keep on creating. Join us in this journey and let's celebrate creativity. This is Make More Art, the podcast.
Hello everyone, my name is Inna Nagaysteva. I'm from Ukraine, but a lot of years I was living in Russia, and some weeks ago I moved into Poland with my family, and now I live in Poland. I started to paint in 2017, and with watercolors I started at 2018.
Oh, okay.
I am an auto mechanic by profession, and I have worked in the automotive industry for many years. But one day I met my husband. He is a musician, and after that my life was changed. I saw that you can be creative and do not waste your life in office work. And this moment really hooked me, and I thought about what I would like to do. And I remember that at school I loved to draw, and decided to try to learn in this direction.
Mm-hmm.
So I started to paint. I watched various lessons on YouTube, tried various materials, pencil, ink, acrylic markers, a lot of. And then my friend gave me an all set of watercolors, and I tried to paint with it.
Okay.
Watercolor seemed to me a very hard material, really, but at the same time very beautiful and magical. And I decided that I had to learn how to paint with watercolors, like the professionals of this business do. And since then, watercolor has won my heart, and without it, I cannot imagine my work now.
That's very
So,
interesting.
yes. So the last 3 years, I have been painting only with watercolors because I love these materials too much, and my heart don't want to live without this material.
So you started.
Uh,
I remember seeing this from one of your captions that you're. Is it right? Electric mechanic.
yes, yes,
Electric
yes.
mechanic. I was like, oh wow, she repairs cars. She knows how to repair cars. I was like, wow, that
Yes,
is
yes,
absolutely amazing,
it's
hands
true.
down. Yes. So what? Okay, go a few steps back and tell me what made you decide to take up that course.
For you, the work with cars are really interesting when you see the process, how it can be repaired, and you help to people. It's very important things for people, because a lot of people using cars.
Right.
And but unfortunately, this work are not for women. No, it's really it's really hard. You must be always on the legs. It's not for women, but it was a very good experience for me. For really, I was working with cars maybe 5 years. But I didn't repair them 5 years. I worked with supplies for cars.
Okay.
Yes.
Wow, that was really amazing. And when I saw that and I read that from your captions, I was like, oh wow, this is really interesting to learn about Ina, that she knows how to repair cars. And like what you said, it's a job that you don't normally see being done by a woman, but you did that for five years. Is that right?
5 years.
Yeah.
5 years.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow. And then you met your husband, and that literally changed your life because he is a creative.
Yes, he is musician. He started to be a musician many years ago, maybe 20 years ago. He playing on guitar. He writes the songs, and he is a singer.
Wow.
He have a band, and they played some post-rock, post-punk music, something like this.
Okay. Does he still play? Is he still in a band?
Now, unfortunately, no, because he must to find new musicians in Poland.
Oh yes, because you moved. Take me through
Yeah.
that. Take me through that journey, because I know you've been living in Moscow. Were you? And you're from Ukraine, is that right? You're from Ukraine.
Yes, I'm from Ukraine. Yes, and my husband, he is from Moscow, and he is Russia.
Okay, is Russian. Okay, and how long were you in Moscow?
I have lived in Moscow from 2012. I think it was 9 years. 9 years I have lived in Moscow.
So what made you decide to move to Poland? Because I just saw that post, and then after being in Poland for 2 weeks, I now finally decided to paint. But yeah, can you share a little bit more about that move? What made you decide to move from Moscow to Poland?
Our friends invite us and give a good job for my husband while he not don't have a lot of concerts with his band. And so now he working with our friends in Poland, and I try to paint and looking for some maybe art school for master classes, workshops in this country.
How long have you been in Poland now? How many weeks?
3 weeks.
3 weeks, right?
3 weeks.
Okay.
Yeah.
And prior to that, I also saw that you've been doing a lot of exhibits with your artworks.
Not a lot, but a couple of
a couple of them. Okay, so you're being modest, Ina, but I did see your works being in a museum, and one of those I think I saw was in a museum in Iceland. I've always wanted to go to Iceland.
Yes.
Can you share a little bit more about that experience, and when did that happen? How did you get started with putting your works in a gallery or in an exhibit?
I started to send my artworks to exhibitions maybe after 1 year where I started to paint, because I was see that I have a good results with my paintings, and I saw that people are interested in my paintings. So I started to find what exhibitions in Russia and worldwide, and started to send my paintings on these exhibitions. And sometimes they are exhibitions. Sometimes not, but it's okay. It's a good experience.
Mhm.
And I when they not going to some exhibition, I thinking about what I can change in my art. And about Iceland, I have a lot of friends,
Mhm.
and I have a big dream to sailing around Greenland on the schooner. And my friends, they organized these trips, and they have ocean community in Iceland, in Greenland, and we have a very good friendship. And I was paying the school at what I want to sail.
Mhm.
And so one of my paints will be on the in the Museum of Ocean in Iceland.
Wow. That is
Because
very cool.
I love the North Stream. I love the whales. I love the Iceland. It's my favorite themes.
I think I saw that from your paintings, and you did mention that you love whales, you love the
Yeah.
oceans, and anything from the north. Is what you
Yes.
said in your
Yes. Yes.
caption? Anything from the north. And looking at your feed, Ina, and I noticed this with your, especially when you paint water or any scenes involving whales, the way that you paint the waves, like the water, it looks so 3D, looks so realistic. And it was also amazing to see that when you teach your other students, they can
Thank you.
really recreate them. Even kids, I saw like a young girl who was holding her painting of a whale with the waves crashing into, was that a tail of the whale? And wow, how did you manage to teach that and for them to be able to
I
replicate
don't
that?
know.
I know that you're also teaching with us, and your your recording is still up. But can you take us through that process? How did you arrive to that point wherein it looks so realistic, but at the same time you have the ability to teach that to other people, especially kids, and create such a magnificent piece of art, which is somehow similar to the reference photo?
Well, for real, I have a good teachers.
Mm.
With them, I was learning watercolor, and they was really very good teachers, and have and a good. They have good explaining how the watercolor is working.
Mm.
It's very important for the beginners, because sometimes. Some guy who wanted to teach watercolor, he buying some art supplies, some paper, some colors, some brushes, and then he said, get it, and he don't know to do how
Yes,
how it works.
that happens.
Yeah, yes. And I was in the same situation, and I was to try find good teachers.
Mm.
For example, my favorite teacher is Julia Barminola.
Okay.
She is a watercolor artist, and she is the star. She is the star because she is a professional in painting in painting water with
Mm.
watercolor. And I was teach her technique, and added some tips
Mm.
what what I what I have from my self experience, and then I get my system how
Mhm.
to paint water with watercolor. It's a big role in my teaching. and I think I have good results with teaching from her.
Okay. Yeah, it actually shows. And if you are to say if there's one thing, biggest takeaway from those teachers, right, that you are sharing with your students and teaching your own style. So you mentioned that you created your own system of creating water or painting water and using watercolor, especially like waves, crashing waves. What would be that tip that you can share with our listeners or our audience who are like in the beginning stage and they would want to paint water or let's say waves?
I want to say for beginners, it's not buy cheap materials because it's really very important. Then you also need to have good materials, especially good paper, because for painting waves and water, you need, for example, only 100% cotton paper.
Okay.
It's really important, really, and trying to work quickly, because while watercolor is dry on leaf, we must to paint our waves. We have maybe 5 or 10 minutes maximum for this, but for the beginners, they can get small piece of papers and try to do it quickly, maybe for 1 minute, 2 minutes, maximum 3 minutes. Get paints, a lot of water, and try to paint really quickly.
Do you have specific colors that you use when you're painting waves? Like how, because I know with watercolor, it's all about layers, right? But if you are to say, give specific colors to start with for waves, do you have a piece of advice on which colors to start with? Yeah.
I recommend in standard box of watercolors, they have, for example, cobalt blue and ultramarine blue. And I like to mix these blue colors with emerald green, for example. And I kindly recommend it to use phthalo blue and phthalo green. They are really perfect for water. And sometimes I'm using Idantron blue. This is a very cool color. I know the Daniel Smith and Rembrandt and Van Gogh brands have this color, and this is really super. And I using this color for the cold waves, for example. For the and sometimes I added natural tint too. Because I love the North water, but unfortunately North water don't have a color like, for example, Mediterranean Sea.
So I know for waves, right? Because one thing that I saw from your painting, when you paint waves and crashing waves or winter cold waves, is that you have like white parts of in your painting. How do you achieve that?
Sometimes I used masking liquid.
Masking fluid.
Sometimes, yes. Sometimes I use titanium white colors, and maybe white gel pen. And sometimes I just leave my sheet I just leave some places on my sheet white and didn't paint on these places with watercolor.
Okay. I think I noticed some of the like titanium white or the gel pens.
It's a really good tip.
Yes, it is. It is a really good tip. Okay. I know that most of your paintings are influenced by your travels. And now that we are still in pandemic and somehow travel, well, you were able to move from Moscow to Poland. But where do you normally draw inspiration? I know you love the North, and most of your paintings reflect that. But I think I did see a painting of a field, like a hayfield, which you said it's like a
like
brown,
what?
it's like a mostly grass or hay, I think. And you mentioned that's not typically your style, but it was sold. Someone
Yes.
bought it. Yeah, someone is that a hayfield? Correct me if I'm wrong, Ina. Was that a hayfield or a field of like dry grass? But it's brown. It's very different from the usual colors scheme that you use for water.
Well, for you, I really love to paint nose, but I know that I must to pump in my way in watercolor.
Uh-huh.
And sometimes I paint some architecture. Sometimes I can paint some flowers. It's okay for me. Sometimes. I think I just when I started to paint these things, I think I have to break with Norse.
Have to break away with North. Okay.
Yes, because Norse it's very interesting, but they unfortunately don't have a lot interesting things. What I have to paint all time.
Right. Yeah. So now that you're in Poland, I know probably it's a different scenery. I've never been. I've never been to Poland. Where do you draw your inspiration, or are you planning to change your subjects, the subjects that you paint? Because I know most of their paintings are like water scenes, like whales, and mostly up from the north. But now that you're in Poland, are you planning to change your subjects? Are you planning to try out different style of painting maybe?
Well, for real, I'm thinking about it, but I want to maybe change places what I paint in, but not change my style. Because I love, for example, now I have the fog, and I really like it.
Yeah.
I just I think I just change the places what I will be paint. Maybe it will be Poland, maybe Germany, maybe some another country, not only Iceland, Norway, Greenland. But I want to started to paint some series. For example, one series with 10 paintings with one country from the Europe. Uh, now I'm painting about Norway. Then will be Sweden, Finland, maybe Latvia, Estonia, Poland.
That's going to be very interesting. And I look forward seeing those paintings on the ground, which I'm sure you will be posting. But I really love your style because when you look at, let's say when you paint anything from the north, right? It looks as if the water is flowing within the paper. That is something that I've noticed from your works, and it's very soft, but at the same time it flows. Not sure if that's the way to describe it, but if you are to say the type of style that you have with watercolor, what would that be?
Well, this effect with the soft watercolor is this is just a lot of practice for real, and some lessons from a good teachers.
Mhm.
because it's very bad to copy the teacher by 100%. When I were alone, I was listen, I was watch, and then I was trying to do it myself without any teaching, without any words, and trying to change the style of my teacher.
Okay.
And first, when I was to trying watercolor, it was not soft for real. It's just
Okay.
it's just a lot of practice
Mhm.
for real.
Okay.
Only practice
Practice.
will
I
help
think
us.
that's
Yes.
the biggest tip for this episode is to keep on practicing and having a good teacher. Which brings me to the class that you have on the recording of your class is still on our website. What was that all about again? Ina, if you can refresh our memory, what was the specific technique that you taught within your mini workshop?
Well, the most important thing it was to work with watercolor in one layer. This is my rule, and I was to teach my students in this role because I love when watercolor have a lot of layers, but this is a not very good way to this material. So I try to teach my student to work with watercolor quickly in one layer and smart. But at the beginning, they all say, "Oh, it's very hard. It's hard. I can't. I can't." And in the end, when they have result, they said, "Hmm, it was very quickly. It was very simple. Oh, cool."
And that they definitely need to watch the recording to learn more about how. So it's just one layer. Is that what you said? One layer, move quickly and smart.
Yes, 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 yes.
Amazing.
Only one way. Sometimes the paper drying is quickly, and I can add one
Hmm.
layer. But mostly, I try to do all my paints in one layer,
That
and
is
try to teach it this my students.
that's really interesting. That's the first time because normally with watercolor, right? You would hear artists saying that it's all about layers and you know but your technique is works fast and smart using one layer.
Yes, yes.
Definitely have to watch your recording. Thank you. Yeah. Okay. I also noticed, and this is something that we were talking about earlier, is that I love your hair color. I
Thank
mentioned
you.
that initially it was blue. So if you're watching this episode from YouTube, you will see right now Ina's hair is a little bit of gray, and then you said blue and purple. And I wish I
Yes, a
could
little
rock
bit.
that hair too. And it's so cool. It's so cool. And I envy people who can rock that kind of hairstyle, who can be bold enough to dye their hair like gray, blue, and purple. I might try that one of these days. But one other thing is your tattoos. And I asked if it was you who did that, but
Yes.
if you can show that to us, it's a peony, right? Wow, it's so
Yes.
beautiful. It's so beautiful. And I think you
Thank
have,
you.
yeah, it's you also have another one. And that's a
I
permanent stay on
I
your
have
left hand.
I have for real a lot of tattoos
Oh,
on my
all
hands.
right. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, but the one that we can see right now, if you're watching this from YouTube, is that there is one on your right hand, which is a peony. So pretty. That is so pretty. Any final message to our audience, Ina, about for anyone who's starting out with watercolor and who is interested to paint, say, waves and water or whales? Any like final piece of advice that you can share with them?
Sure. For first, what I want to say for the beginners, I would advise you not to give up your ventures and undertakings, but to move forward swiftly. It's a really very important thing in art, especially. And if you want to try to paint waves, water, or something like that, always have a good paper. It's really important, and only have 100% cotton paper. You don't need a lot of colors. You can have only two colors, blue and green, and that's all, and one brush.
I want to go.
But yes, but you need have a lot of paper, good paper, and that's all, and a lot of inspiration about around you. Maybe sea, maybe ocean, maybe rain, maybe I don't know, maybe some illustrations, maybe some photos. My inspiration is, for example, the photos of my friends who have a lot of travels around the world, and I watch them photos, and after that, I'm painting.
Thank you, Ina. And those are really good tips, especially with, wow, two colors and one wash. I love that. I really would definitely check the recording. But there's one final question that I'd like to ask you, Ina, and this is something that like what I said, I asked our guest here on the podcast is, for you, what is art?
For me, art is life. For really,
Art is life.
art is things what makes our life more beauty. I think
Well said.
more beauty and interest.
Very well said. I love that. Art is life, and it makes our lives more beautiful and interesting. Thank you so much, Ina. I really love your hair. I will definitely try that out. Maybe next year I will try to wear gray or purple. But thank you so much for being on Make More Art, the podcast. I learned so much, and I am a huge fan of water paintings, and especially that class that where you taught the whales. I was just amazed by the output of your students, and wow, they managed to
Thank you.
create that, and it's because of how of the technique that you taught them. So thank you again for sharing your insights and tips and tricks with our audience. We look forward to seeing more of you probably with an Etcher, and your recording is still up. So if you want to learn about what Ina shared with us earlier about her techniques, then do check out her recording. Thanks, Ina, again for being on the show. Please stay
Thank you
safe
very much for
and
invitation. Thank
take
you.
care of
Thank
yourself.
you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Have a nice day. Bye.
Bye. I find it so liberating when people switch lanes and allow themselves to be more than just one thing. Same with artists when one decide to make the leap and carry on with their passion. What about you? What other creative endeavors have you tried out recently? Do let us know by leaving a comment through the blog post associated with this podcast at etcherlab.com/Ina. Want to know what goes behind the scenes here at Etcher? We heard ya. We are lifting the curtain and giving you VIP access to do just that. Get to know who does what here at Etcher Lab. So joining me for the Etcher Team Spotlight is Kurt. And what's interesting about you, Kurt, as I've read, is that you're an airbender. You're an advocate of that Pluto is a planet, and at the same time, you believe that hard work is very important, right? So, welcome to Make More Art, the podcast, Kurt. Can you share a little bit more about yourself? And you are part of the customer support, if I'm not mistaken. Is that right?
Yeah, I'm part of the customer support. I mainly handle emails for lab and also a bit for Etcher Studio. Yeah, I started working for Etcher around September.
Mm-hmm.
That's when I tried the online work from home thing,
Yeah.
and this is the second job that I found in the online jobs hunting part. And yeah, something about myself. Like you said, yeah, I'm an airbender. I like watching anime.
Okay.
Not yeah, not quite like the what they call the dweebs or the weebs that are so hardcore. I'm just a casual anime watcher. Uh, I'm an artist too. I draw, mainly drawing because I'm still in the practicing phase. So I'm starting to I want to start um, doing fundamentals first, so drawing and then sketching, perspective, something like that. But I want to move on with painting as well. So, but not there yet. So the Pluto part, because I love knowledge, not just any knowledge, like the worldly knowledge per se, like philosophy or like anything
Oh.
about science.
Mhm.
So yeah, that's the Pluto part. And then I I believe that hard work trumps talent, because I'm one of those kids that were uh at the very young age I was told that you're very talented, blah blah blah, something like that. It boosted my ego, but it didn't help because when I tackle a problem and then I didn't succeed or something, I failed. My ego goes down. Like I hit rock bottom because in my mind I'm talented. Why I cannot like why did I fail, something like that. So yeah, during those adolescent days, teenage days, during college, I found out that there's a what you call this, there's a study that most of kids that were brought up saying they were talented, were majority of them were like failures or something like that. So yeah, from then on, I'm an advocate hard work over talent. But yeah, I'm not saying there's no talent in the world. There is, but if you don't put hard work on it, it won't bloom or something.
Very well said and very good insights about talent and hard work. I think I agree
Yeah.
with you that people are born with talents, but it's what you do with
Mhm.
that talent that will probably dictate the path that you are going to be taking in and where it will
Yeah.
lead you, right?
Yes.
Interestingly, you are also an artist. So you draw a lot. What
Yes.
kind of drawings and have you done any of the tutorials that we have on? Because the reason I ask, some of the employees or staff within Etcher that I have interviewed, some
Uh-huh.
of them have started doing art ever since they joined. But you've already been doing it. So what kind of
Yes.
drawing subjects, medium are you using ink mostly or
Um. Ink. Yeah. Ink. Mostly sketching. Just sketching. With pencil, charcoal. Um. And then mostly I'm more on doing perspective, and then human anatomy. So I'm focused on
oh
those two first,
okay.
because in my mind I want to like draw comics or something like that, like with the story.
Yeah.
So I want to do anatomy first, so the people, the characters that I will make are like realistic, and then the perspective because of the what you call this, the composition of the frame. So yeah, mainly those two subjects.
But those two are quite tricky. And I personally,
Yeah.
difficult perspective and human anatomy. I mean, come on. When we talk about human, when you draw human, even a face or, when you try drawing portraits, it's kind of difficult for
Yeah.
a lot of people. But you are doing human anatomy, and I should. I should definitely check out your works if you have them on any of your shows, Kurt. I will definitely check them out.
Sure.
Yeah. So
Sure.
how long has it been since you started? Did you say November,
September.
September,
Um,
September.
yeah,
Okay. So
4 months.
how has it been working with Etcher? I mean, as a customer support and then being part of Etcher family.
The environment is so new to me. So because it's online, and then I don't have any like what you call this physical contact with the team. Because I worked as a customer service before, but in a BPO company. So
Okay.
with customer service, I know the ins and outs. So I'm quite um, comfortable with that one. But with the online thing, it's kind of hard because mainly I struggle with discipline and like time management. So since it's online, I have my time on myself. It's kind of hard, but I'm powering through it. So hopefully, I by the end of the year, I can be like a solid. I have a work schedule, a
Mhm.
solid work schedule.
So there is a learning curve with
Yeah.
online work, with remote work, and don't worry, this is gonna be
Yes.
seen by your manager as well. So I'm just kidding. Of course, it's gonna be this is gonna be on in YouTube. But
Mm.
what do you enjoy the most being part of Etcher?
Yeah, the most enjoyable thing is I can see art all the time. I'm facing art all the time, even though it's like um problems with the class, or problems with the account of a customer. I'm always seeing art. Not like when I was in the BPO company, I was handling hotel booking, something like that. But now, since I'm in an art online art company, and what do you call this art supplies. Yeah, the most enjoyable thing is I'm surrounded by art.
Very well said. And that's why we have Make More Art, the podcast, because we want to inspire people to
Yeah.
make art. And that's I agree with you. Being being part of Etcher will really put you on the front line of on the forefront of art. Like we are
Mhm.
surrounded by really amazing artists, and having access to their tutorials is just
Yes.
amazing. Kurt, thank you so much for talking to me. And
Thank you,
September,
Jesse.
so wow, roughly how many months? So fairly new. Welcome to
Yes.
Etcher. I was hired, I think,
Thank you.
May, June of this earlier this year, so also a pandemic hire.
Oh,
But
okay.
it's been great. I love being part of the team, and hopefully we get to see each other, soon, like in a physical
Yeah.
place, maybe, because we are all working remotely. But thank you again, Kurt, for being on Make More Art, and take care of yourself. And we'll catch up via Slack or email.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kurt.
You too. Take care. Bye
Take
bye.
Bye.
We would love to hear your thoughts, so please drop us a 5-star review on the Apple Podcast, or you can find us on YouTube at Etcher Studio. And hitting the subscribe button is greatly appreciated. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll catch you again next time. Until then, let's make more art.